Hi, it's Andy, and today I want to discuss something a little different. As you know, Friday episodes are centered more around personal development and looking a little deeper into how we can live our lives better. I want to talk about the inner tools that help us survive difficult seasons, grow stronger emotionally, and become more effective human beings. And a while back, I watched the documentary Stutz, featuring actor Jonah Hill and his psychiatrist Phil Stutz. And honestly, it stayed with me. Not because it was trendy, but because it was real. And it dealt with fear. It talked about pain. It talked about self-sabotage and discomfort. Most of all, it talked about uncertainty, which we all have. The struggles we all carry quietly. But what really grabbed me were the practical tools that this therapist talked about. Simple frameworks people can actually use in real life. And today, I want to walk through several of those tools and connect them to leadership, relationships, growth, discipline, and becoming stronger mentally and emotionally. Because the truth is, most people are not losing the battle because they lack intelligence. They're losing it because they just don't have the tools. So let's talk about how right now. Welcome to another episode of the Leading Life Podcast, where we talk practical wisdom for leadership and life. I'm your host, Andy Zook, and I've learned that leadership is about how we show up for people, how we navigate change, and how we continue growing. Right now, on today's episode, 5 tools that can change your life. This is the Leading Life Podcast, where we talk about what it takes to grow, lead, and live with purpose. No fluff here, no empty motivation. That's my promise to you, but just practical tools that you can actually use to improve your life. And this whole episode is really inspired by the work of psychiatrist Phil Stutz. And not only is he a psychiatrist, but a teacher. He's an author, best known for blending psychology with highly practical action-oriented mental tools designed to help people move forward through fear, pain, and self-doubt, things that happen to all of us. Rather than focusing only on analyzing the past, Stutz became known for helping patients take immediate action in the present through simple visual concepts and exercises people can actually use in their daily life. That's what we're going to get into today. You know, over the years, he's worked with everyone from struggling everyday individuals to high-level creatives to executives and entertainers in Los Angeles. But what makes him compelling is not his status, it's his honesty about being a human himself. And this all stems from a movie called Stutz that actor Jonah Hill made about him. And during the movie, you see, despite Stutz dealing with Parkinson's disease and his own personal struggles, he openly discusses pain, insecurity, and uncertainty with humility and realism. His philosophy is deeply grounded in the belief that life will always involve challenge, but that human beings can become stronger, more resilient, and more emotionally free by learning the right internal tools to use. First off, let's get real. I mean, as real as we can get. Life is hard for everyone. One of the most powerful ideas in the documentary is that life will always contain pain, uncertainty, and constant work. Not sometimes, but always. And honestly, I think many people suffer because they secretly believe life is eventually supposed to become completely easy for them. No, it doesn't. It's not like one day anxiety completely disappears, or there's no more conflict, or I'm never going to be insecure again, or I won't need all this discipline. You know, relationships become effortless. None of that happens. It's not reality. But the thing to keep in mind is the most successful people struggle. Even confident people doubt themselves sometimes. Even great leaders get tired. And the goal is not eliminating that discomfort. The goal is becoming stronger inside the discomfort. That changes everything. Because when you stop seeing difficulty as proof you're failing, you stop panicking every time life gets hard. You begin understanding this is part of being human. And that mindset alone can dramatically reduce suffering. So let's talk about how to improve your mindset. And let's go through 5 tools that Phil Stutz uses with his patients. Number 1, this is the best place to start because it's called the life force. This is one of the most practical concepts from Phil Stutz. And honestly, I love this idea. And that your life force is built from 3 relationships. Number 1, your relationship with your body. That's the most important part, that you have proper exercise, diet, and sleep. You got to start there. Secondly, your relationship with other people, how you interact with others, how you deepen relationships with people within the world. And third, your relationship with yourself. When these areas weaken, your emotional strength begins to weaken too. And this hit me hard because many people try to solve emotional problems while neglecting the foundations of their life. They want confidence, but they're sleeping poorly, or they're drinking too much. They're never moving their body. They're isolating themselves, speaking negatively to themselves all day. You cannot continuously weaken your foundation and expect mental strength. Your body matters, your movement matters, your connection matters, your self-respect matters. And listen, this doesn't mean perfection. It means intentionality. It means walk more, exercise more, eat better, sleep with consistency, go to bed the same time, get up the same time, have real conversations, spend less time numbing yourself out, create, read, build. Strength is built through patterns, not speeches. I think we're all in the process of working on life force itself. But I know that once I had daily exercise in my life that was prioritized, it fixed probably 50% of what was going on inside of me. Then deepening the relationships further in my life and taking the time to really discover who I was. It took me a long time, but I developed a great life force. I had a friend that I grew up with that had it all. He was born into wealth. He had parents that helped him develop a strong work ethic. He went to the best schools. He was good looking. He was athletic. He never went without. And anything he desired, he got. And even through all that, he was still very driven to succeed. He married his high school sweetheart, etc. It was just like this perfect model life. But none of that fixed what was deeply missing inside of him. And when life got really hard, he found himself alone, destitute, and miserable. He had some of the life force, right? He had the fitness part, but he didn't have the relationships part. And the most important part of the life force he was missing was he never really knew himself. So that's the thing about life force. It's 3 tiers of a pyramid, with the base being your relationship with your body, diet, sleep, all that. Second, your relationship with other people and how you deepen those. And third, your relationship with yourself and getting to know who you really are. Tool number 2. The enemy inside of us is called Part X. This is another incredible concept from Phil Stutz. Part X is essentially that internal voice that wants to keep you small, keep you comfortable, keep you distracted, and keep you stuck. It's the voice saying, you know what, you don't have to start that today, start tomorrow. Or don't take the risk, don't go for that job at work, don't go for that position. Or, you're too old to be doing this. Or you'll embarrass yourself, or nobody cares anyway. All those things that we all have an internal voice at some point saying those kind of things to us. And here's the scary part. Part X often sounds reasonable. It doesn't always sound destructive. Sometimes it sounds protective. That's what the brain does. It tries to keep you safe. But over time, it slowly shrinks your life. And I think one of the biggest battles adults face is this. Not external enemies, not the next plague, not the next COVID. Internal resistance. The resistance to their growth, comfort, vulnerability, discipline, and making the change necessary. This shows up everywhere. People always avoid having that hard conversation that needs to happen. They stay in comfortable habits. They procrastinate on creative work. They refuse to involve. They emotionally shut down. And they choose distraction over purpose. And leadership requires confronting Part X daily, because leadership begins with self-leadership. I had a coworker who let Part X take over his life. He had had a failed marriage, and at times I think because of that, he felt he failed his children. He was mistreated by bosses and took it. He worked for my wife for a couple of years, and he was so broke that my wife went out and actually bought him clothes so he had clothes for work. A couple of years later, he worked for me, and I did the same thing and bought the man clothes for work. He was always living on the edge of a dollar. He was always a groomsman and never quite the groom. And on the outside, he was still this happy-go-lucky guy. He probably had a good life force and had a genuine love for himself. He had a genuine love for life itself. And I loved working with him. He would often say how much he'd learned from me. But when it came time for opportunity would knock on his door, and Part X held him in its clutches. He stayed put. He didn't go for it. He let part X control a large part of his destiny. Don't let that happen to you. Part X is telling you not to go for it. It's trying to keep you small. Don't listen to that voice inside of you. Tool number 3, the string of pearls. This is probably my favorite concept in the entire documentary and of Phil Stutz himself. The string of pearls, the idea is simple. Every action is a pearl, and over time, your life becomes the string. Most people obsess over outcomes, but great lives are built through repeated quality actions. One workout, one honest conversation, one totally disciplined morning to start your day, one simple journal entry, one act of kindness, one difficult decision handled correctly, pearl by pearl. You keep putting another pearl on the string, one after another. This matters because people often destroy momentum by becoming obsessed with perfection. They think, man, one bad day is just going to ruin everything. One mistake means failure. One setback can erase my progress. No, just build the next pearl and put it on the string. That's it. Do the next right thing. Because this is really true in all parts of our life, our marriage, our leadership, our health, our business, our parenting, our creativity, and most of all, our emotional healing. That's what we're here for today. A powerful life is usually not built dramatically. It's built consistently. To bring this to life, I watched my sister build her career very much like the string of pearls concept. She was always in the process of the next thing and then the next thing, going from somewhat an average student to excelling in college, to Phi Beta Kappa, to graduate work at Georgetown, to PhD, and then professor at Purdue. She had achieved a remarkable climb in a rather short period of time. Possibly the most driven member of my family outside my father. Bottom line is plan out your destiny and figure out the steps that you need to take, because it's just not going to come to you automatically. My first year as working as a project supervisor, my boss would always come over every couple months to say, Andy, where do you want to go? And my answer would always be, wherever you guys need me. And I look back on that like, what was I thinking? I mean, I wasn't 18. I was a 40-year-old man saying that. And to some degree, my career had been in the hands of others because I allowed it. So what I'm saying is always be in charge of your direction. Be the one adding the next pearl to the string. And after that one, another one and another one. And that's what will build the most fulfilling life for you. All right, let's talk about tool number 4, active love. One of the more emotional ideas in the film is active love. And this one is difficult. This one's tough for a lot of people, especially because people hurt us, right? We all get hurt by somebody in this life. And the concept is, instead of feeding resentment, you intentionally send love outward. It's not weakness if you do this. It's not approval. It's not pretending that the harmful behavior that happened to you is okay in any way. But it's more refusing to let hatred consume your emotional energy, because resentment is exhausting. And many people become emotionally trapped by constantly replaying their betrayal, their anger, their bitterness and unfairness. And it traps you in something that Phil calls the maze. But eventually you realize the poison is hurting you more than it's hurting them. Strong people eventually learn how to release emotional weight. And that's what I want for you. Not because others deserve it, but because they deserve peace. And honestly, great leaders understand this deeply. Bitterness clouds our judgment, but healing will restore clarity. So yeah, like I said, I think this is the toughest tool, and I think a lot of people will avoid it. And I think it's almost an opposite construct of turn the other cheek. I believe it is a way to get yourself out of that maze that you're stuck in. And I will share with you this, that I was stuck in that maze for a long time, like almost 2 years, over a protege that had come to discard my knowledge, discard my care, and my absolute love for their success. I did not try to just open doors for them, but I busted them down. And I was that guy you always see them talking about that was saying that person's name in the rooms that they weren't in. And I felt a great betrayal beyond what I could say to you in mere words. And you know what? In an airplane flight from Baltimore to Orlando, I took every ounce of love inside of me and I pushed it toward them. I landed in Orlando and I began to heal. I am 90% better overall because I retained that love in my heart and said it to them and didn't focus on what had happened to me anymore. Tool number 5, confidence through action. This is a major theme that Stutz really talks about. Action creates confidence. It's not thinking, it's not waiting, it's not over preparing. A lot of people do that, but it's pure action. And I think this is incredibly important in modern life because people consume endless information but avoid execution. They watch videos, they read books, they listen to podcasts, they make plans, they buy courses, but they never really move. And movement is what changes people. You become stronger by doing difficult things repeatedly. Confidence is earned evidence. That's why when you go for that workout, that builds confidence. Difficult conversations with that employee that's been troubling you builds confidence. Public speaking at the next meeting builds confidence. Creating builds confidence. Consistency builds confidence. Not because the fear disappears, but because you prove to yourself you can function despite fear. I think every psychologist, every self-help guru, I think anybody with a certain amount of wisdom, any lived experienced person will tell you over and over that fear is the killer, and it is. I have let it dominate me too many times, but I think we all get better at handling it. We learn to see it for what it is when it reveals itself as nothing after all. And sometimes the things that we fear doing the most are essentially the very thing we need to do to become who we want to be. We talked about life force at the beginning of this, and the top of life force is loving and knowing yourself. But most people don't get there because they actually fear what's inside of themselves. And I wonder sometimes with worry if we're leading into this world with so much inaction because machines will do the work, artificial intelligence will put the words together for us, and at the click of a button, we have a never-ending streaming entertainment universe. Endless universe that will keep us glued to our couches. You must absolutely take action. There's no way around it. I worked with this wonderful, hardworking young woman, and over at the end of the day, no matter what we faced at our job together, we always agreed that no matter who you are, no matter where you are, you will never get anywhere without it. Action. When you multiply action upon action, you gain not only your confidence, but the very internal basis of who you are, that top of the life force pyramid we talked about. And here is your leadership edge for today. Emotionally healthy leaders create emotionally healthier environments. So us as leaders who can manage our stress better, our insecurity, our egos, our fear, our resentment, our avoidance, we tend to create calmer, stronger, more stable teams and relationships. And the opposite is true too. The other side is people with unresolved internal chaos. It leaks outward. Trust me, we've all seen that one coworker. And that ruins their communication, ruins their decision making. They're always in conflict. They have morale issues, and they don't foster good, healthy relationships. That's why self-awareness matters so much. Not because it sounds intellectual, but because your internal world eventually becomes everyone else's external experience. Self-awareness matters because your internal world eventually becomes everyone else's external experience. And maybe the strongest thing a leader can do is continue working on themselves. I've been out of my last job of 30 years for about 3 months now, and I can honestly look back with a clarity I never had before, and I judge myself pretty harshly. I won't get stuck in that maze, but I can clearly see now where I was lacking. Yes, the good of my leadership, that's why you're listening to me, definitely outweighed the bad. But there's so much more I could have learned. There's so much more I could have done differently. There's so much more excellence we could all strive for. Every year, you're going to become a new leader and not recognize that leader you were 365 days ago. The right direction is being in a constant, perpetual motion for excellence in how you lead people and excellence in how you lead your life. I want to leave you today with these few reflection questions. Number 1, what area of my life am I currently avoiding discomfort in? Number 2, what part of my life force needs the most attention right now? Is it my body? Is it my health? Is it my relationships or self? Number 3, where is part X quietly shrinking my life? Remember, part X is that part of you that keeps telling you no. Number 4, what would happen if I focused less on outcomes, but I simply put the next pearl on the string? Number 5, what emotional weight do I need to stop carrying? I think that's a big one because we all got it inside of us. So listen, none of us are getting through life without pain, without uncertainty, and without struggle. But we can become stronger, wiser, calmer, and more intentional. We can use these tools for resilience, growth, emotional strength, and leadership. And maybe that's what maturity really is, not becoming fearless, but becoming capable of moving forward despite the fear. So thank you for spending time with me today. If this episode connected with you, please share it with somebody who may need it. If it made a positive impact on you, I would truly appreciate a quick rating or review. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up next on the Leading Life Podcast. This isn't a place where we talk about leadership. It's where we really live it. I'm Andy Zook, and I want you to lead with purpose, live with intention, and keep becoming who you were meant to be. And most importantly, go out today and be the hero in somebody's story. All right. I will talk to you on the next episode. Take care. Bye.